Good morning, grade 10. Today we'll step into a new chapter called Heredity and Evolution. Till now, we saw how do organisms reproduce. I think you're clear about that chapter. And today onwards, we'll start this new chapter, Heredity and Evolution. This heredity and evolution comes under a genetics. Genetics is a subject, it comes under biology. So biology means study about living things and its roles and its mechanisms. So first chapter we learn life process. It comes under physiology. Okay. Similarly, we learn chemical coordination unit and we learn how do organisms reproduce unit. And this chapter heredity and evolution, it comes under a genetics of biology. What is genetics? Genetics means study about genes and so many characteristics regarding the genes. So we want to learn in detail or we want to learn in detail of molecular level or genetic level in this chapter. Clear, children? So heredity and evolution, it comes under genetics. Okay, heredity and evolution, it comes under genetics, and genetics comes under biology. So what is genetics? Study about genes and its characteristics. And before moving to the chapter, first we want to know the definition for heredity and evolution. We know heredity means information will pass from one generation to other generation. Information is passed from one generation to another generation. Now look at this slide. We can see the process of transfer of characters or traits. Here normally we used to call it as characters. For example, a child is looking like his father or her mother in his hair color or eye color or hair. Like that, whatever we are describing, all those comes under characters. Not only the external character and also the behavioral characters. Okay, but instead of characters, we may use one more term, call it as traits. So what do you mean by traits? Trait means characters. Why we should use traits? Meaning here, father of genetics is Gregor Johann Mendel. Father of genetics is Gregor Johann Mendel. While doing so many experiments, instead of using characters, those days he used the term traits. So because of that only till now we are using characters also, synonym word traits also. So who first used the word traits? Gregor Johann Mendel. Who is he? He is the father of genetics. Okay, and nowadays we are using, instead of traits, we are using characters. So characters and traits both are synonym word only. So what is heredity? The process of transfer of characters or traits from the parents to their offsprings is called heredity. Here you want to remember, what do you mean by offsprings? Offsprings means they are child or they are new generation or they are baby. So all terms are synonym words only. So what is offspring? Offspring means new generation or child or a new baby. All those things equivalent word is offspring only. So how we can able to define heredity? Transfer of information from parents to their offspring is called heredity. Clear, children? The definition for heredity. Next one we want to see what is variation. So while passing, now look at the slide, while passing the information from parents to offspring or parents to child or parents to baby, automatically all child or all baby, they won't be exactly similar with their parents. We can able to see some variation among the individual of the same species. So these kind of slight changes, okay, these kind of slight changes in their offsprings, we can call it as variations. We can call it as variation. Now look at the slide. We'll read the definition. The differences between the characters or traits among the individuals of the same species are called variations. Okay, same species are called variations. Now look at this slide. all those babies, they are not alike, though they all comes under the same species, that is human being species. They are not alike. We can see differences among individuals. Okay, differences among individuals. So these differences among individuals of the same species, will call it as a variation. Clear, children? Now look at this bird example. All those birds are they are comes under same species, but we can able to see phenotypically, meaning we can able to see externally some difference. Here the feather color is red, here the head color is red, here also some difference, here also some difference. So we can see variations among individuals of the same species are called variations. Clear? Or slight changes we can able to see in their body structures or behavior. It is called variation. And one more thing you want to remember, here there is no change in their body structure. Okay, human beings means all those human beings are, they possess the same body structures, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth. Like that, they all possess the same body structure, even in the insect also, ladybug also. But though they possess the same body structure, and here and there some variations we can able to see. One may be tall, one may be short, one may be stout, one may be thin. Okay, so these kind of externally we can able to see some changes, that is only we can define as variation. Clear, children? Now I think you are clear about two technical terms, heredity and variations. So here you want to remember very important term. The variations we want to compare in the same species. We should not compare variations. We should not compare the variations in human beings and the parrot, or parrot and the ladybug. So always comparison should be in the same species. For example, all human beings comes under a one species category. All parrot comes under one category. All ladybug, they all comes under one category. We learned in 9th standard regarding the biodiversity. No, it starts from protozoa to invertebrates and also vertebrates. So all those groups, they have a same species in their group. So we want to compare the variation in the same species only, not the other species. Clear, children? I think now you are clear about the two technical terms, heredity and variation. Let me review heredity and variations. Heredity means a process of transfer of characters or traits from their parents to their offspring is called heredity. And what is variations? If there is a slight changes in their externally or some behavioral things, that will call it as variations. So how we can define variation in technically? The differences, now look at the slide, the differences between the characters or traits among the individuals of the same species are called variations. Here you want to remember, variation means slight change only. Their body structure won't change, only some changes we can able to see. Clear, children? Now two technical term is clear, no? Now we'll move on to the introduction, what is given in your book. Clear? I'll read out and I'll give explanation for that also. Now look at the slide. We'll use green color. So what is heredity we know, and what is variation we know. And one more term is there, no? What is evolution? So we are thorough with the heredity, we are thorough with the variation. Suppose if a variation continues for so many years and we can see a huge development in the same organisms, is called evolution. Is it clear, children? So we know variation means slight changes in their next generation. You are not similar with your parent, you are slightly different from your parent. That is variations. Suppose for 100 years or 200 years, your cycle will continue, and after 200 years, that new child, that born child is different from that of your parent, and this is called evolution. So now look at the slide, a flop from bottom to last third line. Long-term consequences of the accumulation of variations are also an interesting points to be considered. We shall be studying this is under evolutions. So technical term you want to understand, I will explain in detail while taking evolution at the end of this chapter. Now heredity is clear, variation, slight changes, clear, And what is evolution? If slight changes continuous for long term, and after a long term we'll get a well developed organisms is called, and this process, okay, this process is called evolution. A process only we'll call it as evolution. Now 3 terms is clear, children: heredity, evolution and variation. Now look at the slide. We'll see once again the main point. So we have we'll use blue color. We have seen that reproductive process give rise to new individuals that are similar. That we learned in the previous chapter. All organisms, whether it undergoes asexual reproduction or sexual reproduction, we can see some variations, okay. But subtly different, S-U-P-T-L-Y, subtly. What do you mean by subtly different? Slightly different. Though whether the organism is going for asexual reproduction or sexual reproduction, their next generation or their offspring or their new babies are not exactly look like their parents, but it is different from their parents in a slight variation. With the slight variation, that slight variations only will call it as subtly different, S-U-B-T-L-Y. Now come to the next line. We have okay, so this word subtly, S-U-P-T-L-Y, subtly means slight different. We have discussed how some amount of variation is produced even during asexual reproduction. How all those 100 sugarcane plants in this form also, they are not exactly like. Okay, but there are some slight changes will be there because of the environmental factors. Okay, so because of the environmental factors, we can able to see variation even in asexual reproduction also. And the number of successful variations are maximized by the process of sexual reproductions. So compared to sexual reproduction, asexual reproduction, we can able to see only the minimum variation, that is because of the environmental factor. But in sexual reproduction, we can able to see a huge many successive variations we can able to see. So we can able to see many successive variations. What do you mean by successive variation? For example, your brother is not look alike with you, and you people are not alike with your grandparents or your parents. So we can able to see variation next level. So that is only we'll call it as successive variations, and it is possible only through the sexual reproductions. If we observe the field of sugarcane, we find very little variations among the individual, that we already I explained that. And but in a number of animals, including human beings, which reproduce sexually, quite a distinct variations are visible among different individuals. So in this chapter, we shall be studying the mechanism by which variations are created and inherited. So what is our purpose? What our purpose is how the variations are created. So we are last chapter we are telling variation is occurring in asexual also, sexual also. So in this chapter we are going to see how variations would occur in asexual reproduction and also in sexual reproductions. If it is occur, how it will pass from a generation to other generation. That is only we'll call it as inherited. So what do you mean by